This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks, show number 178, recorded on August 7th, 2014. Here at Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way into their home, into your home, news, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the AverageGuy.tv studios here in Bellevue, Nebraska. And we post the show with world-class show notes and a lot of show notes this week. We'll have a lot of things out there for you, so make sure you head out and grab those out at the AverageGuy.tv. If you have questions, comments, or contributions, you know, trick, guys, don't drink a full beer before you start the show, because then the intro notes don't work out real well. If you have questions, comments, or contributions, you can contact the show. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv. And I apologize if you've been listening for a while. Some of you sent me some emails at jim@theaverageguy.tv. And that thing had gotten all jammed up. I'd actually changed my passwords 2 months ago in response to all the LastPass, Heartbleed, all that other stuff. And I didn't go back into my Outlook.com settings and re-enable my Google accounts in there so it'd feed on there. So for like 2 months, not paying attention, I was thinking, well, I guess maybe no one's sending me an email, right? And just last night I was going in there and realized, holy crap, I'm behind. And some of you guys had sent me emails. I apologize for that. Jim@theaverageguy.tv is back up and working again. And you can send me notes if you want to, and I will get to those as well. You can track me down on Twitter. We had a little Twitter fight going on before the show. It's just @JCollison, or now calling those questions. That's the best way to do it. 402-478-8450, and we'll play those questions right on the show. We've actually been challenging for some pretty crafty crank calls, so give us a crank call, and we'll play that as well. We'd like a little humor in the podcast, so throw it in there. And now Home Gadget Geeks is part of the Geeks Network. You'll find this link to this show and many other great podcasts out at the geeksnetwork.com. And I just fixed that page, so it'll work now. So Dave gave me some logins, and head out there, take a peek at it. Join us in chat, watch, or listen live on YouTube, Spreaker. And Kevin, thank you for listening to Spreaker when you're on the road, 30,000 feet. That's always good. And Mixler, although I didn't turn on Mixler tonight, so I guess that's not going to happen. All the navigation over at the AverageGuy.tv. All right, a couple guys that have been around the community for a long time tonight. I didn't think I was going to get him in here this evening just because things were going crazy on his end. John Zadler, how you doing tonight?
Let me find the unmute. There it is.
Very
I'm
good.
moving my windows away around. I only have a 19-inch monitor here. You know, I bet Kevin's got the 224 inches there. And you got two monitors, don't you?
I do. I got a couple sitting here on the desk, yeah.
You're a studio
For
guy.
sure.
Big
Yeah.
shot.
Well, John, good to have you back. We haven't seen you in a while, but it's always good to talk to you. Welcome back.
Yeah, it's always good to be here. And a lot of the guys saying hi in the chat, so I want to say hi to those guys there. So, hi,
Yeah.
boys. And
John,
hi, Kevin.
John Stutzman says, wait, is this a home server show? And it might be with Kevin Schoonover. Kevin, how are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
It's good. Dave always gets mad at me when I do this because he knows we're going to talk home server stuff. And he always just says to me, why didn't you just call it the home server show? Well, you guys, both you guys, we've got some other tech stuff. I'm sure John Zadler will weave in some home server stuff, but we've got some other tech stuff to cover tonight. So
what is this? What's this home server you speak of? I'm not familiar.
I don't know what that home server is.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, if you're listening to my podcast maybe for the first time, I've had some new listeners come over from our Ask the Podcast Coach show Saturday mornings. At what time do I do that? 9:30 Central. And if you're new, well, I'm also on the home service show. Dave and I maybe get one a month or two a month. Sometimes they've been waning a little bit. HomeServerShow.com is what we're referring to, and all of us kind of came out of that home server community and still do a lot of that stuff. So we'll get back up and running on Home Server Show. We've got a big meetup coming up September 20th. If you haven't gotten to it, about 25 seats left, and so you want to jump on that. They'll fill up here pretty quick in the next couple of weeks. It is September 20th, and we're just, as we record this, we're just about 6 or 7 weeks away from it. We'll converge on Indianapolis. Kevin, you're giving away like a podcasting starter kit, right?
Yeah, we got several prizes set up and going for it. But got to be there to win. Got to have a seat,
be present,
ready to go. But we're having the Jim Collison starter podcasting kit, which is a 920C Logitech, a ATR 2100 mic, and a set of earbuds. So you're all set that way. And then we're also doing a home server show. Out in the deals, we had a really good section going on good cheap tools, tools for working on your computers that don't cost you an arm and a leg. So I put together a batch of that. And then last but not least, I know the president of Skoondoggy LLC, and I got her to donate a couple of brackets and some parts. So we'll
nice.
have that put together.
So we'll get those home server brackets out there to take your Gen 8 to the next level.
You bet.
And add some hard drives in there as well. So really cool. Hey, thanks for doing that, Kevin. I just want to say from an organization standard, appreciate you chipping in. We have some. We'll be bringing some LastPass. They're going to be throwing in some T-shirts and some stickers, so we'll have those as well. Dave's been working on some stuff, so we'll have all kinds. Really, the giveaways, we always try to downplay those, although we talk about them a lot. Really, the best part about the meetup is getting together and just the relationships that we make when we do that, and it's always good to be there. You'll want to be there. I've been looking at the list, and a lot of the guys that were there last year are coming back. If you haven't been there before, you might want to head out to the meetup. The link for it will be in the show notes, so you can check that out as well. So I want to talk a little bit of an update from last week. We had Derek on he's the CEO of MediaFire, and had a great interview with them. I appreciate those guys coming on this week. I upgraded my MediaFire account to 1 terabyte. Which is crazy. 1 terabyte for $25. Still kind of an amazing deal out there to do that. We want you to try it out, test it out. I'd love to recommend it at this point. I haven't used it long enough to really say, yeah, this is going to be great. I'm excited about it, but some good stuff that it's out there. One of the things I am testing, though, is they give you downloadable MP3 and MP4, any media type links, which is, for a podcaster, super important if you're going to link your RSS feeds to the downloads. And so one of the ways I'm going to test MediaFire is to actually create 2 new RSS feeds for you. So there'll be a video small and a video large. Many of you, I think John Stutzman being one of them, maybe, I think that was him, had asked me a while back, hey, Jim, could you get a video RSS feed? And I'm always hesitant because it's super expensive on the bandwidth, and I just felt like, hey, just watch it on YouTube. But this gave me a good excuse. I get 10 terabytes. That's a lot. 10 terabytes of bandwidth on this service per month that resets. That's what we talked about last month as well. And so we're going to be trying out a new RSS feed with it and see if it goes. We'll see if they shut me down after it gets popular and everybody downloads it. So watch. I'm hoping by the weekend and the time I post this, I'll have the RSS feed out for you. But I have been trying out MediaFire. Great service. It just works. They're simplifying it. I was most interested in the conversation about, though, they're going to try some different things with their apps this fall. And so you might want to follow that as far as consuming that media content. Go back and watch the interview. That's 177. So if you go to theaverageguy.tv/HGG177, that will get you there. And a pretty good interview with Derek. And I appreciate those guys at MediaFire joining us as well. All right. Keith Lunsford sent me in a question about syncing up with OneDrive. I thought I would play that question into the show so you guys could have a listen. Let me play it, and then Kevin will throw it to you and John back for your opinion. So here's Keith.
One thing that Dropbox seems to do really well is to share and synchronize folders. And that's one problem that I've had with SkyDrive and OneDrive is my wife and I both have pretty substantial OneDrive folders. The problem is we can share them with each other, but we can't synchronize to our own machines. So I'm just trying to find out if there's a better way to do that. I've tried a couple aftermarket synchronizing apps. They just don't work very well. Another thing is we just switched to Office 365, 4 packages between my wife and I and my parents. And I'm just trying to find out if there's a really good way to synchronize shared folders so they're actually available online or offline on each of our machines. I don't want to have to go online to look at my wife's documents. Say we put a postcard together for my son's birthday or something. I just want that to synchronize as Dropbox would have done onto my computer. Just looking for your input. Let me know what you think. Looking forward to my second meetup in Indy. I'll see you guys in October. Thanks.
All right. Keith came out and joined us last year, of course. Kevin, let me throw that over to you. Synchronization options outside of what he was talking about.
Sure. So, the first thing that comes to mind for me, and it's just a comfort factor thing, is a piece of software called Always Sync. And I just have gotten so syncing is one of those things where do you have each folder exactly match each other? Is it an additive kind of thing so that files that get added end up in the bigger folder but never get deleted? So there's always rules around syncing, and I've just always been very comfortable with Always Sync. So some of the things that you could try, and a couple of things I've done just as some testing is somebody had brought up on one of the sites about, hey, I want to sync between two online services, so like OneDrive and Copy.com, because both of those have folders on Windows. You can do it. You just set up Always, and you can set the two to sync with each other. You can make it a two-way sync, and that works really well. Always Sync costs money. The other one that comes to mind is Sync Toys from Microsoft. So Microsoft has that Power Pack with Sync Toys in it. So that'd be another way I would look at it. And you could set up so you could set your My Documents to sync into OneDrive and move things that way. So that'd be probably the first thing I would think about.
Okay, John, you got any recommendations on the sync side?
Nah, I don't really play around with. I don't have that option, or not that option, but I don't run into that issue where two people are trying to sync to the same online account.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't share a lot of my online folders. Sarah and I, when we need to do that, I just give her my username and password for that folder if I need it. We just get that around. Keith had said, I think he wants it to work like Dropbox, and so obviously Dropbox might work pretty well in that case. But Always Sync. That's probably a good recommendation on that, Kevin. Give that a try.
Yeah, and in chat, Keith mentioned something about wanting to be able to do it home or away. Totally different kind of concept. But Keith, if you're ever concerned about getting into a home machine, I'm a big fan of TeamViewer for remote access. And TeamViewer actually has a mode now in version 9 where you can just transfer files. You really don't even have to log on to the machine. You can jump in and grab a file that way. So definitely would be most advantageous if everything is up in OneDrive. But for those times when I've had stuff sitting on a home machine and had forgot to throw it in the right folder to get it synced up, it's a pretty slick way to hop in with TeamViewer and just do a file transfer.
Yeah, Keith, while we have you out there, what don't you like, or why do you want to move away from Dropbox? Is it a size restriction or a security restriction or something like that? I use Dropbox for a lot of the podcast consulting that I do, and that always works really, really well for me. It's just been one of those things that with Dropbox, now I'm not throwing anything out there that I wouldn't let anybody look at, for the most part. So I'm not worried about security from a Dropbox perspective, but that seems to work really well. I've got Dropbox installed on my Windows Home Server 2011, and so I actually just go to the server and I put it in folders there, and it does all the work for me. That way I back up those files and do some of those other things as well. So just kind of wondering, Keith, if you can throw in there, why not use it? Dropbox works so well for those kinds of share. That's one thing Dropbox does really well. So he says he's got about 125 gig. Well, yeah, that would be pretty expensive, with Dropbox being the most expensive cloud storage option. If you head out to theaverageguy.tv and look over, we've got a new post for the cloud storage, the guide that I put out there for cloud storage. Just went through and updated that, and Dropbox is the most expensive one that you can use out there. They don't get any more expensive than that. A couple of the other ones you might think about, some of the ones, if we think about like Cubby, Cubby, Cubby.com, those are the guys over at LogMeIn, and they're also in that space of sharing. That's kind of one of the things that they do a lot of. I have not looked at that. I did install that client on my PC at one point in time and had it up and running. But I haven't used it, so it's not a recommendation, Keith. I'm just merely saying what as you look at some options, what might be out there for you that might work. Those are the guys that might do that well as far as sharing. Of course, MediaFire might be something to look at. They've got some sharing options as well. I haven't gotten down to that, but the guys at MediaFire are doing some of that. They're by far the most generous. They're giving away about 50 gig for free to start with, and then I think it starts at 10, and you can work your way up to 50 through referrals and such. And then, or you can just buy a terabyte for $25. That's pretty cheap, and so that might be an option as well. All right. Well,
I wanted to also mention that I don't know if Kevin, if you came across that this issue. Like sometimes people talk about sharing documents and stuff with like from a company. Let's say you work at a company and you want to share some of your documents with one of your vendors and stuff. So there's some security stuff. You want to let the guy in. Have access to some documents and stuff like that. I've heard about how some guys were using SharePoint. So like they were going to their SkyDrive, and they were making their getting their documents in SkyDrive, and then the vendor was on SkyDrive, and somehow with SharePoint there was some kind of integration where you can so it keeps this levels of security that you can cut the guy off at certain time and stuff like that. Have you ever played around with that, Kevin, or do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, we're just starting to play with that at work now. We've kind of shifted in adopting Office 365 at work, and then going to OneDrive Pro, OneDrive Business, and we've used SharePoint for quite a while. So we set up teams to work in SharePoint environments, and now you're through Active Directory and how you have all the employees set up, now there's linkage between SharePoint that you are participating in as a member and your OneDrive account, and then you can open up your OneDrive account to share with those folks as well. So it kind of turns into a permission type of thing of, what do you share outside of the company, what don't, but I think properly configured, it could be a really great way to do file shares and data distribution as well.
Yeah, because you're right. For some people, I'm not sure. Because I got one plan with Office 365, and there is a component of SharePoint, and you can set up, even so a person who buys out of the more expensive account, he can actually get a SharePoint account or homepage or whatever that's up in the cloud. It's not like you have to set up a SharePoint server at home. And even you don't even have to install Office at home. You can just use the Office 365, the web apps and stuff. So at least I like the idea how you can kind of get started for a little bit of money, and you have this level of security that you can at some point say, yeah, this document I'll share with these couple of people, not that guy. At a certain date, cut them off. So because one of the nice things is when you use the Office 2013 apps, it's like you just go to your documents, all your SkyDrive stuff, are there, and if you open projects or something like that, those documents are there. If you Excel, those documents, so everything is kind of like nice and organized, and then you just go out on the road, and your stuff is always with you wherever you go. And that's it. I guess with SharePoint you have the option that now if you let your wife or your friend or whatever say get those files, there might be something there.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good point of another way we use it, or we're starting to implement it is, so as a distributor, we carry, many different vendors of products, and resellers work with us on certain product lines, but not all product lines. So for like technical briefs and white papers and things like that, we can put them out in SharePoint, and then we can code a reseller's access by which vendors they work with us on. So they can only get into the libraries that they happen to work with us on, and they're free to pull data out of those, but for things that they don't work with us on, then those are locked out for them. So it's and of course Microsoft loves it because SharePoint rides on top of SQL, and SQL is a charge for things, so it ends up being a good deal.
Yeah. Copy would also be, Keith, something to look at. Copy.com. They've got a nice desktop client as well that you might want to give a try. I've got about 180 gig that I've earned. Still don't pay for any of it, but I've earned about 180 gig out there. That would be within your kind of requirements. It's kind of easy. And they just upped the ante too. They got 15 gig for free, and then you can earn or buy. It's fairly inexpensive if you want to do it that way, but worth a try maybe from the syncing option. Although it does sound like you're trying to stay within the Windows or the Office 365 ecosystem. So, it's like I'm going to go with Kevin. Give that Always Sync a shot, because that'll do it at the Windows level. Maybe that'll keep some things up to date for you. All right, good stuff. Kevin, you got some new toys as far as, and we're going to dip a little bit into home automation. Of course, Dave's got a forum for that, homeautomation.com, I think is just what it is. That's available out there as well if you want to jump into the home automation space. We've been talking a little bit about that. You've got some geeky, a month or two ago, we talked with John Zadler there about his train sets and stuff and these little tiny parts that come with it. Of course, I've talked with John Zadler too about the Raspberry Pi and those little pieces. Kevin, you got some cool stuff. I'm going to throw the camera over to you.
All right.
So that, because you want to show these things. So I'm going to throw
Sure.
the camera over to you. Show us what you got there. This sounds pretty interesting.
Okay, so this it's a company I've heard about for quite a while. It's a company called littleBits, and they make these little modular electronic devices. So think of little modules that are motor controllers and switches and power supplies and a variety of things. And I always wanted to buy into them, but I just never quite got the jump to get into it. And then about 2 weeks ago, they had an announcement that they had come up with a cloud-based controller. And it was basically a way to connect their devices up through their website into a cloud. So I'll flip my camera over to the other camera. No, I didn't mean to do that. Let's.
Oh, and there he goes.
Did we just lose him?
He did. He clicked the hang up button.
Clicked on a hang.
He will come back here in just a second. So, yeah, John Stutzman says I'd like to hear what you settle on, Keith. So that would be good. Keith, I need to have you on the podcast. Would you consider that? Maybe we can bring you back, talk about your quadcopter, maybe in about 3 or 4 weeks, talk about your quadcopter as well as the storage decision you go with. Remind me of that if you would, Keith. That'd be great. Kevin, click the wrong button. Good to have you back.
Do not. I feel like Apollo 13. I got to put a sticker up there. Don't disconnect the command module. Don't disconnect the command module. All right.
Don't do it.
So I'll flip over to my life cam. So these are the little modules, and the guy in the middle is the cloud controller. Little Wi-Fi connection on there, and that ties back into Wi-Fi and sends you up to their website. These guys all just kind of snap together, so they're little magnetic connections. That's a motor controller chip. The guy up front here is just the powering off USB. The center guy is a controller that talks back up to the little bits site. I think you can see the little motor there. And basically now if I go to, on my screen, I'm on my cloud control setting, and if I tap the button on the website, as soon as I get back in connection here. All right, it's a good demo when it dies. We'll give it a second to come back around.
Yeah, no sweat.
The automation factor on it is one of if this then that. So the idea is as you put these things together and start working with them, there the motor's running. I had to wait for it to turn green. It takes a little while to reboot down there. But basically now I'm able to control that motor from the website. The button aspect is just a way to show that you're actually making it talk. And, no, the USB is only for power. So this is basically commands coming from littleBits website over the internet down to the wireless on here. So, what are some of the things you could do with this guy? People have already kind of taken this motor control and hooked it up to an old thermostat and let the arm move the thermostat back and forth to turn the temperature up and down. A lot of little robotics projects with it. If you go up to littleBits website, there's all kinds of little projects that people have done, and frankly, Jim's done quite a bit of stuff with STEM. Part of my motivation with this is I have a 9-year-old daughter, and she likes snap circuits is one she likes that is just snap together electronic circuits, voice control, voice synthesizer kind of stuff. And then this was the next big step for us is to jump into these. Now the other pack I got from littleBits is the I always have a hard time pronouncing this, Arduino. So for some of the embedded guys out there who've played with Arduino before, I got their starter kit from littleBits for Arduino, and part of the reason I picked Arduino is SmartThings, the home automation guys that I've started working with here. Those guys have a board that links Arduino circuits to SmartThings. So it basically does the Z-Wave connection, it's either Zigbee or Z-Wave, into SmartThings. So if you made a controller or a sensor or a monitor of some kind, which the littleBits stuff has a lot of the sensor, light sensor, dimmer kind of functions, you can basically start building your own circuits and have them tie back into your SmartThings system. And if this then that has SmartThings connectivity. So you can use trigger points from SmartThings to make things happen with the littleBits technology as well.
That's very cool. Just, John, think about that on a train, man.
Yeah, well, I was thinking is, yeah, the reality is, see, like those little motors, they're stepper motors, you know, so they could be very precise, you know, of how many revolutions you want it to go, you know, like an exact distance, you know, it's not, they don't just turn like fans, you know, they, you could see the little holes there, you can adjust, and what some of the guys do on train sets actually is like underneath they have, it's not a coil, but it's, they put these stepper motors, and then it connects to the through like a wire. It connects to the pin-ups up above where there's the turnout. You know, so it actually flips. Like it pulls the wire, and as it turns, it'll pull the track to one side, and then you have it turn to the other direction. It pulls the track. So you can, you know, I guess you can do something where you know, somebody's running his trains, then you wire, you know, remotely. You know, you're at home and you press the button, and you derail his train. You know.
Or you control somebody's track remotely, right? I mean, you could have cameras set around the track or whatever. I mean, we're using model trains as an example, but it could be a variety of things, remote control options for, you know, for any of those things. Kevin, so the magnets, those just pass power through, right? Is that right? There's just power going through those?
The magnets just pull them together.
Oh, okay. Yeah, bring that into the camera view a little bit. There we go.
If you can
perfect.
see the camera
yeah, that's
view,
great. Yep.
There's 3 pins on each of these, and I have to believe, I should have did a little more research on it. I have to believe it's one of the embedded buses like I2C, which is like a 3-wire bus connection for embedded control. So they're passing power and ground, and then the control signals just kind of pass through in a serial bus fashion. So
I think they swiped that idea from the Surface touchpad and all of that, you know, the magnetic touchpad.
Actually, it might be the other way because these guys are out before them. Microsoft might be in trouble on that one.
So the USB is the power coming in all the way over to the left, and then you've got the controller in the middle.
Yep.
And then you've got that circuit that's running the motor.
Yep.
But you could connect a variety. What other kind of connections do they have?
So this is a sound trigger that I'll just read a few of them off that I've got. It's a sound trigger, so you could set that as a trigger point. If the doorbell rang or, you know, if a noise went off, it would trigger whatever circuit you had going. Obviously, push buttons are available. In the other pack, there's a dimmer switch and a photosensitive so if the light goes down, it can trigger off that. There's motion sensor modules, so you could build your own motion sensor devices. So any kind of, think from terms of either output from a dimming point of view or from a control point of view, volume control, moving volume up and down. So just any of your basic control functions from a sensor, switch, or control point of view.
I like it. That's pretty cool. And all those have those modules, and they'll stack one.
Yep.
I mean, so you can stack one on, if you wanted the doorbell one, the on and off, you could put that on the end of the green all the way to the right. You could slap that on there, and it would. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to think of it in order of what you're trying to do. So the simple circuit they first have you do is power and a switch and the motor, and then of course you push the power button, you push the button down, and the motor turns. So it just it gets you started with the flow. And I don't think you can see it, but there's little arrows on here to make sure you plug them in the right way so that the flow of the circuit always
Got it.
goes the same
Got
way.
it. That is a dynamite stem tool. I mean, you're not lying. That's, I mean, as you show, this is awesome.
Yeah, I think this would be, and they have pretty good sized discounts for STEM. So I mean, this would be a great project. And like John said, these are real servos. These are real stepper motors. So you could hop into these and do lots of interesting projects out of them.
Oh, very cool. No, that's awesome. I think it just gets better. You know,
Oh, yeah.
it's weird that we're back to these, you know, we got really high tech for a while and now we're kind of back to simple circuitry using that very, very small tech that we've, you know, we got so much better with chips and making them smaller, and now they're able to embed this on simple circuits, but turn those simple circuits really into some dynamite useful, you know, which now are all internet connected, right? The Internet of Things. And so this is the beginning of that process. And in a way that really you could get kids engaged. But I don't know, Kevin. I mean, what's your plan with this? What made you want to buy this? What was the impetus for that?
You know, like I say, it's kind of with a 9-year-old daughter. She likes to play with this kind of stuff. The other big thing from my point of view is on the home automation thing. I'm already starting to run into things that don't exist. So I've put Schlage door locks on 2 of my doors that are controlled through smart things, but nobody makes a electronic lock for a patio door because sliding glass patio doors, there's no standard to that. And I got to looking at it, and I'd probably need a motor stronger than this one, but you know, thinking about the function of just moving that lock arm up and down on a patio door, that might be one of my first projects to tie in, just to prototype it with this, see if I can get it to work, and then you know, see where we build out.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. All right, well, switch your camera back over when you get a second, so we see. That's kind of cool. I might have to look into that, and that'd be good. We just started our high school internship program. The very first group of kids, we met their parents and them last night. We have 13 of them, and we'll bring another 15 or so into the program in about a month, and then they'll join us for 6 Saturdays in the fall. 6 Saturdays in the spring, they'll have a winter project, and these are the kind of winter projects kind of things, although we have them build Android apps or some of those kinds of things, but this stuff is very, very cool. So, Kevin, I appreciate you bringing that up. That's what I love about the community here, guys, to be honest with you. We just get some great, I mean, from trains to this, Keith and I are talking about, he just bought a quadcopter, and going to bring that, although I think it's a hexacopter. I think it's a 6 blade dealio. So you know, some very cool stuff, you guys. And I will say, if you've got something tech related and you want to come on the show and talk about it, I'm always keeping things scheduled out, so I can give you kind of a month to get ready if you'd like. But let me know. Send me an email, jim@theaverageguy.tv, and we'll get you on the program. John, I know. Oh, go ahead, John.
I was gonna say, it makes me think about my brother. Just a couple of weeks ago, he also ordered some of those circuit boards, like, you know, you mentioned Arduino, and they have, you know, there's one called Beagle board, and some of those boards, you know, they do different projects, and like, so they have different boards, because like we said before, you know, before, back in the day, to do some circuitry or some logic, you needed a lot of chips. Each chip, like, you had the NAND gate, OR gates, AND gates, and all this stuff, and you have to kind of like wire them up to have an end product. Whereas now you can have, you know, a small board with a microprocessor, and you program that chip. So that's what these guys do, is they'll program these chips to be this type of controller, that type of thing, or whatever, or you update it yourself, just like a Raspberry Pi, right? You could put the programming you want. And these big old boards, they just like the Arduino boards, like, they can stack one on top of each other. So you can have a power supply, and then you stack in, I don't know, analog to digital converter, then you USB card and something, and they're all made, like, you know, the guys think ahead of time that all these boards can plug into each other, and they, you know, you get some neat projects, and that's one of the other things that makes me also think about this, like Raspberry Pi. They just updated their Raspberry Pis. They had the original, then they had the version, the 2, which they gave you more memory, but now they have what they call the B+, and they made it more pins on the motherboard. So now you have access to you know, to more pins. They added another USB port on it. They moved the power around. They did a little bit. So what they're trying to do there is they basically, if you see the new B+ board, there's like 4 corners and then the long bar that has all the pins, and they want to make what they call hats, so it's hardware on top, or hardware attached on top. It's HAT. And so companies will make these different boards that will have different projects, and you'll just be able to take those boards for whatever you pay them, $25, $30, and plug them into the Raspberry Pi, and that's it. And now you got your Raspberry Pi connected to your internet. Maybe it'll be a sound, it could be running some alarm system, could be doing all different kinds of stuff. So they're creating a standard now, and they want to make this available for students in schools and stuff. So not only like now we're it's like you learn programming on computers and stuff, but there's nothing like tangible, Whereas with them, it's like you got the board, you learn programming. Okay, now let's make it like a real world thing. Let's connect, something that's gonna feed the cat or something, a motor, stepper motor. Maybe you can drop your food there, like yours. You can feed your cat with when you're not home, you can remotely let's feed the cat. So
have a camera on the dish while the cat's waiting, and then mess with them, because they'll start understanding when the motor starts turning, the food's gonna drop down. So turn the motor, but don't open the door.
Yeah, it's like the can opener. They'll hear the bzzz, and then they'll come running for it, and then it's like, no, gotcha.
Yeah, you could do that remote stuff. Put the camera on it, and then watch, from the web, execute it. Kevin, best place to get these components? Some people have been asking how much. Where's the best place to find them?
Currently, you have to go right to littleBits website. So that's you got to go straight to them. It's littlebits.cc, and they tend to have some specials going on. The stuff I got here, the cloud thing, the cloud kit. Their kits are the best price, and their cloud kit was $165, but it's on sale for $99. If you get for like the STEM stuff, there's premium kits, deluxe kits, with lots of different modules. And then the Arduino kit was like $89, and they've got some workshop kind of things as well. So,
Kevin, I threw a link for Amazon in the chat. Click on that. Make sure that's the right deal there. If
okay.
It's a littleBits electronics base kit is what they're calling it for $99.
Yeah, there is a space kit version. Yep.
Base kit is what they're calling it.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the base. Yep.
So I just went to Amazon, typed in littleBits, and there's I think you're saying they're being fulfilled. They get them directly from them, but they're being fulfilled through Amazon. And so, of course, I'll remind you, use the Amazon link when you go out there, theaverageguy.tv/Amazon. Thanks for supporting. That's been great. You guys have been doing a great job. And Kevin, all your stuff did come through. Sometimes I think it takes up to a week for me to even see what you guys buy. I don't get names. I don't know who's buying one unless you disclose, like Kevin did. He was like, hey, I bought this. Did you get credit for it? And we actually got some good clarification from Amazon on some of those things, that if you click on that link and then use a search, that it still credits in there, even though the Amazon affiliate link goes away. So I appreciate you guys buying through Amazon. That's kind of funded the AverageGuy.tv scholarship fund, and I actually I bought. We'll talk about this. I'll mention it. I bought some Audio Technica noise canceling headphones to work. I do a lot of traveling in the spring and the fall, and the Bose ones are always the they're super expensive. They're like $299. And I thought, since we all use Audio Technica microphones, I wonder if an inexpensive option would be to go with $130 Audio Technica 90% noise canceling headphones. So since I travel, I thought, hey, I'm going to take advantage of the AverageGuy.tv Tech Scholarship Fund. I picked up a pair, and I'll be testing those on the road, and we'll make a post for them as well. Be a great alternative, maybe, if they work out real well, and if you want an option to not have to go with the $299 Bose, but go with a $130 pair. That might be an option as well. Kevin, when you travel, you use noise canceling headphones?
I've kind of come and gone on them. In most cases, I just have a couple of different varieties of earbuds. But it's funny, when you mentioned getting the Audio Technicas, I had just seen, I think the older version of that was getting blown out on dealfisher.com, and they went really fast. And it's interesting. There's a really good review, and I know we've kind of had some discussions about headphones in the past, and the Beats Audio, Apple buying Beats Audio. Beats are very trendy. they don't sound that great, and they don't hold up all that great. And you can get a pair of Audio-Technica headphones for under $100. We were at a wedding Saturday, and all the DJs had Audio-Technica headphones, and the noise canceling Audio-Technica's just got a couple other awards. So much lower price than the fancy name brand guys, and I think the sound quality is better.
Yeah, Steven in chat was saying they're a little tight on his big noggin. I got a big noggin too, and those Audio-Technica, I tried them out. They're snug, but that's good. You kind of want them, to kind of hold on there. So those are coming up. That will be a future post that I'll do for you guys as well. But I thought I'd take advantage of it. I hadn't really bought much out of the fund, and I thought, well, I travel. Let's get a pair of headphones. Let's give it a try. And so those are coming up as well. So appreciate you guys. When you buy from Amazon. John, let's catch up with you a little bit. We haven't heard from you in a while. Last time you were on, you were talking about, we talked about trains, so we really haven't talked much about storage and server. There hasn't been a lot going on in that space anyways, but catch us up a little bit, maybe some things you've been working on a smidge, and maybe throw in one home server item.
Yeah, well, I got a tip there, because some of the guys were talking about installing Windows Home Server 2011 on their Media Smart servers, which is a headless box, and how do they get it going? And so the whole idea was that you start with your hard drive on your PC, you start the installation there, just like since now it's on your PC, you have your monitor, keyboard, and mouse. You start your installation, then the computer will get to the install will get to a point where it's gonna want to reboot. So at that point, you say fine, you let it reboot, but then you kill it. When it comes to boot back up, you kill it, you take it, the drive, you put it in your Media Smart server, the bottom bay, turn on the power, and away it goes. And it's really nice because it'll pick up the driver, it'll pick up the network card and everything. It'll just install. I recall when we were trying to, we kind of did more or less the same thing with the micro servers, but they have VGA. I remember the micro servers there at one point there, Microsoft, when they went to Server 2012 R2 Essentials, we couldn't get it going. Like, they didn't include the right drivers and stuff, so we had some headaches there. So it's nice to see that even with the Media Smart servers that are old box, the 470, 485, 490, you can, this will work across all the Windows Home servers, Server 2012, 2012 R2. So that'll all work. But the other thing is, once the server gets installed, then people have to install the connector. And the little bit of the confusing part is, it's like, well, okay, what server name did I use, or what did it take as a default? What IP address did it take and stuff? So it's like, then they're going to their DHCP, the router, and they're trying to check what the addresses are and stuff like that. But one thing I noticed is, let me see, I'll try and share one of my screens here. Hopefully this will pop up. Okay, can you see my desktop?
Oh, not yet, but hold on, let me give you focus. There we go. Yeah, you bet.
Okay, see, so basically this is like my Windows 8 desktop. So I have all my documents up here, then I have devices and drives. Sorry for the people who are just on audio, but I'll try to explain it all. See, I'm highlighting my computer, and then down here I have network connections, and these are on my server I have I have Twonky Media running on my HP server. I have another different type of iTunes guy, and then I have the Windows Media Player guys going. But my tip is here, what you do is you click on the network. Usually this network guy goes like that. So what you'll do is you'll click on the network icon, and now you'll get all your, on the top, the first category is called computers, second one is media devices, network infrastructure, and then other devices. So that's the one that you want to look for. See the HP Western Digital, it adds a nice icon here, but otherwise, if you're running Windows Home Server version 1 or Windows Home Server 2011, you'll get these sort of white icons with the server name. So now you'll see what the server's name is. So that's one piece of helpful information. What you do is you highlight it, you right-click, and it says View Devices Web Page. So in this case, I'll click that.
Now that part we don't see, John, but you do get a dialog box.
Yeah,
that shows up.
I don't know if I can switch to that screen.
If you switch to your whole desktop, we might see that.
Yeah, see, it'll open up this page. Can you see this page?
Yep, there we go.
Okay, so now the bottom line, there's a link there, hyperlink, and it says http://hpserver:55,000. So basically, you would click on that, and then it would go and it would open up in your web browser, and it would pull up the download. Do you see this? Where
Yeah.
it says download?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you would click download, and then you would run. The little box will do a little check, and then it'll go and do its. It's just going to find a connector, and then it'll install.
John, that's a great tip, especially because I'm running into more and more people in the forums, as well as just contacting me, that are asking me questions about home server. I think we all kind of assumed it would die, and all of a sudden, I don't know what's changed a little bit, but we kind of have a new crop of guys that are kind of coming out of the woodwork saying, well, I'm looking for something at home, and I heard about this thing called a home server, but I know it's not around anymore. I think the number one question I get all the time is, how do I get 2011? That used to be cheap, $40-$50 to get. It's getting harder and harder to find 2011 now. There was just a conversation, I think, that went on over in the home server show forums about that. Where do you get it, right? 2011 is getting harder and harder to find. Microsoft's not selling it anymore, and so guys are running into. Of course, you can still get it in an MSDN subscription with TechNet gone now. MSDN, if you're in that, you can find home server that way. If you're lucky and you can track down the 2011, I was going through my media the other day, and I found a copy of 2011, the physical media. I'm like, I better hold on to this. This could be, because I've got the original home server on disk. I've got 2011 on disk. I haven't bought 2012, so I haven't done that one yet. But
well, I know one of the guys over at the MediaSmartServer.net there, one of the admins there, whenever he has a chance, sometimes he'll go and buy like 5, 6, or 8 copies when it goes on special, Windows Home Server 2011. It's like he finds the licenses, so they ship him the CDs and the license keys. It's all legit stuff there. It's not a
real stuff.
And because that's it. It's like put them on the shelf because they're beautiful. I mean, you have you're running Windows Server 2008 for $35, $40, $50.
Yeah,
Kevin. So the other option I wanted to
go ahead, John.
The same thing is also available for, like in this case, I'll right click on my Western Digital box and I'll click on. I'll right click and then I'll grab you the other. I'll show you what page it brings, and it'll bring you to. So it'll bring you to this page. You see that? Connector.
Yeah, we see the connector. You bet.
And then the connector software there too. So the same applies to version 1, Windows Home Server. In this case, I'm running Storage Server 2008. But if you had installed Windows Home Server 2011, it would be there. If you installed Server 2012 R2 Essential, same thing. So the trick is to go down to other devices, or first thing is to open. I'll just reiterate there on your computer. You open File Explorer. You'll click on Network. You'll scroll down to Other Devices. You should see your servers there. If they're not there, then that's one problem that okay, it didn't get it either didn't finish installing. It didn't get the network. Didn't get an IP address or something. So at least this is one hurdle that yeah, okay, I see. My guys are there. Highlight, because if you just right click, you might. Let me see. Oh yeah. Anyway, I highlight. I click on it, and then I right click, and I say View Web page, and your connector fault comes up.
It'll bring you right up to that page. Yeah. No, good stuff. Those are good tips.
Yeah.
Good home server tips. Let me ask the two of you, John, as you pop back over to your screen. Kevin, have you? There's some chat going on about the 6 terabyte drives that are out, and they're going mainstream. They're not terribly expensive. I think I saw them $390 or $299.
$299. Yeah.
Last time I saw them out at $299. Kevin, have you seen anything yet along the 6 terabyte size?
I've not played with them yet, but my friend that works at WD, that's his busy time right now, because the big folks that use lots of big drives like Facebook and other big data centers like that are trying to qual them as quickly as possible. And it wasn't. I should be able to do quick math in my head, but it wasn't until I punched it in on a calculator that a 6 terabyte drive is a nickel a gig. And did we ever think we'd get down to a nickel a gig?
Yeah, yes, but when was the question, right? Kevin, there was some, and John, let me throw this out to you. Bring your video back, John, when you get a sec.
Video.
Yeah, come back to your video.
Where do I click to get back?
Oh, click the green button again over on the left-hand side, just to bring your video back. If you just the same one you click to share should bring it back, hopefully.
Well, I guess it'll give me back my word. No.
while you're working on it, there we go. Oh, we're getting close. We're getting closer. John, while you're working on that, Kevin, let me ask you this: there was some concern, right? I'm in the Facebook group. And I don't know if it was mine or another one I was reading, but they're like 6 gigs. Or 6 terabytes. That's a lot of space to trust on OneDrive. I mean, we're to that point now where the drives are. You can really, for most people, get everything you own, and you got to try hard for the average guy on OneDrive. Do you trust? Do you trust it to OneDrive? And do you have any concerns? I mean, 6 is a lot of space. We don't know the failure rates yet. What do you think?
Well, it's, we've had the discussions on home server about it. I think it is something you need to think about. So first and foremost, RAID's not a backup, whether it's RAID 5, RAID 1, whatever you're doing. But I do think and I use RAID 5 pretty heavily on smaller drives these days, 2 terabyte, 3 terabyte. I think 6 terabyte in the big storage arrays that my company sells is fine, because you're talking about some really robust equipment. But throwing 8 6 terabyte drives on an HP P222 in a micro server, I don't think that's a great idea when it comes to rebuild times. And actually the drive guys are starting to notice that it is getting more common. So think of a RAID 5 set. You have a drive die, and you replace the drive, and RAID 5 goes into a parity rebuild. That parity rebuild is reading and writing and reading and writing, and it really beats up the RAID set. So it's actually rough on the existing drives to do that. So you'd need to sit down with a piece of paper and look at it, but think if you could fit everything on 6 terabytes, that would be 4 2 terabyte drives in a RAID 5 with a pretty smart controller. Or what if you went with 2 6 terabyte drives and mirrored them in the operating system? So now all of a sudden you'd have your 6 terabytes, you'd have $600 in drives, but from a failure point of view, you'd have a pretty easy way to fail over. So I think there's more and more promotion around mirroring, and even though I'm a big fan of RAID controllers, the mirrors make things a great way to go for the home user. So I tell people to think more and more from a mirroring point of view. Might not be, it's tough for people to grab onto that, mainly because, hey, I just bought 2 6 terabyte drives, and you're telling me I only got 6 terabyte usable. That just doesn't seem right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, John, we had John drop out and come back in. It's just interesting. We're in an interesting spot with storage, and I'm not sure the average consumer really understands how much 6 terabytes is. Just how much data they have at their fingertips. And I don't know if 10 will be next. That would seem to be the next, 8. I think we would go 8 and then 10 here as we make jumps. I think there's going to be some changes. John, as you're looking ahead at 6 terabyte drives, for you, any interest in having them for you? I mean, if money was no object, would you go out and buy a bunch of 6 terabyte drives? Oh, well. Hold on, we don't have John. John didn't even hear the question. I thought he was there. I thought he was looking, I thought he was contemplating.
He is very contemplative.
John, can you hear me?
Now he's dual contemplative.
Okay, good. There's a picture of you in there, and you look very contemplative. And I was talking to you, but you weren't there. So, John, let me ask you: 6 terabyte drives, money's no object. You interested in them, or is that getting kind of silly and ridiculous at this point?
Yeah. I think it's a bit silly. Again, if I go back to saying my MediaSmart server, I have 4 2 terabyte drives, and then at some point, we had 500 gig, a terabyte, 1.5, 2 terabyte. Then it's like, okay, what's going to happen now? 2 terabyte, I can only put 4 drives. But then it's like, now that I have 4 2 terabyte drives, like, okay, everybody is their own preferences, but for me, it's like, hey, 8 terabytes is or 7 point whatever usable. That's good enough for me. Maybe I would get maybe a 4 terabyte here for like a backup, especially sometimes when you have, let's say, a big video collection and you want to go to one hard drive. But I would tend to use it just as a backup. and not for everyday like everyday use. Always writing to that 6 terabyte drive. You know that's like a bit overkill. You know, it's like going to work in I don't know, a Mercedes, or like a big car, a fast, expensive car. It's like, okay, I just need what I need. You know, I just need something middle of the road stuff. Especially if you're paying that extra premium. You know, because I think in Western Digital, right, they have the 6 terabyte drives, but then don't they have some that are like the pros, and then like a lower end and a higher end one? Mm-hmm. Even though they're reds, one is more like, I think one is a 3-year warranty, or two and a 5 or something. So it starts to get a little crazy. And I think, well, for the regular person, it's like a 6 terabyte drive. I'd rather have maybe 2 4 terabytes, and in this way have some kind of redundancy there, and not put all my eggs in that one basket.
Kevin, do you think the sweet spot price wise, you're kind of our our resident shopper that's out there, price wise, what's the sweet spot for hard drives right now?
Boy, there's been a lot of good ones lately. 3 tera, to me, probably 3 terabytes have been running $99 around Amazon and Newegg. That's a hard deal to beat. There have been some, and I should try and double check here, but I want to say last week Newegg had some 2 terabyte drives for like $69. Which is, when we start getting drives down around $50, that you don't get much cheaper than that.
Right, that's kind of the bottom, right?
Yeah.
At that point, yeah.
So to me, 3 terabyte drives for $99, that's a sweet spot kind of thing. The past few days, we've seen lots of 4 terabyte drives around the 150 kind of point. I looked through some of my home server posts, and sometime within the last weeks, Newegg had some 4 terabyte drives for like 129, which is pretty outrageously low. But $100 for a 3 terabyte drive, I'd say, is a pretty good deal.
$100. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and you and I have had a few posts about some of the folks wanting to get into backing up their systems. I think it's pretty hard to beat a Synology SE box for 150 and a couple of 3 terabyte drives for $100. You're in for $350, and you've got 3 terabyte of mirrored storage.
Yeah, no doubt. That's some good options there. So with Synology or a QNAP, I mean, there's a bunch out now. When we were having that discussion, I was looking at all the NAS. I just went to Amazon and typed in NAS. Holy moly! I don't know who's buying all these things, all these NAS devices. Somebody must be, because there's a ton of them now. Buffalo has stepped up and is got their own version of NAS. Drobo continues to work on theirs. They slowly have been releasing some new updates and some stuff to theirs and getting faster. And I'm tempted at $99. The Western Digital 2 terabyte Reds right now are $99.
Yep.
And it's like I'm almost tempted to buy one of those a month and just replace them in my Drobo. Just at the end of the day, then I've got 10. It really won't be 10. Let's just call it 8 something. But that's ridiculous, right? It's like I don't have 8 terabyte. I don't need that. But at the pricing that they are right now, that may make some sense.
Mm-hmm. You start hoping for hard drive errors. Yes, I got a hard drive error. Honey, I need another drive. I got to drop another $99.
I got to replace a drive.
Smart, the smart add-in, Windows Home Server smart add-ins. Yes, it found an error.
It's got one little smart error, and you're like, it's out of here.
Yeah, it's like the monitors. Like one dead pixel. Hey, I can see a dead pixel up there. Change that monitor.
It's time to change it out. Yeah, no, that's good, John. That's rich. I'm
wondering if the 6 terabytes are even warmer. Do they run hotter? Because there's, I guess, the thinner platters and more. It's got to go right more to the drive. Everything is more compressed, but you kind of wonder the accuracy has to be. It's a smaller tolerance, and it's tight, because I hear even in the 6 terabyte drives. Like, they don't put air in the drive. Like, they say the molecule of air is too big, so they use some kind of, I don't know, some gas. I don't know if it's helium or what is it?
Hitachi uses helium.
Yeah, Helium.
Helium.
Yeah, there you go. It's like, we got to make it smaller. So, I kind of wonder if those drives are getting warmer and stuff, and now you have to maybe think about that.
Well, it's weird, Kevin. I'm getting a little feedback from you all of a sudden.
I'll try and lean in a bit more.
No, that's okay. It's just really weird. It just showed up. Hadn't been there the whole time.
Something.
Yeah, you're on the 2100?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
I should check to make sure I shut down everything else.
Yeah, you might have an open something somewhere. Well, anyways, a good hard drive discussion to say the least from that standpoint as we talk about what's new in the area of hard drives. I think for me, 6 a little overkill. I like that 2, 3, and 4 spot for what I need. If I need it, I don't. I've just started ripping and keeping my DVDs just so I've got something to use for storage, kind of deal. I don't do it because I want to. I kind of do it because I want to keep up with what's going on in the storage world, and so I kind of create that data to do it. It's not bad. I've been running Plex now, and that's kind of fun. I've got Plex on all the equipment around the house, so anybody can get access to the movies. So that's working out. That I just got charged the $4.99. I think that's what it is. Plex is on a monthly basis now, so I should probably buy the lifetime and be done with it. I think I'm going to stick with Plex for a while. One last thing, guys, I want to cover. Kevin, I know you got some phone stuff. We're going to skip that for now, but I want to talk a little bit about OneNote. Because this is something, OneNote's always been out there. If you haven't used it recently, it is worth a look, because one of the amazing things I've noticed about OneNote, and you're going to talk a little bit about how you guys are using it in the enterprise, but I'm using it at work, and those same OneNotes are syncing everywhere. And so I can get it on my phone and it looks great. I get it at home and it looks great. I get it on my Windows phone and it looks great. My regular phone, Android, looks great. Updates, easy to use, easy to work with, tabbed, lots of features, based on what you're doing. I mean, it's all of a sudden, it's OneNote everywhere. I mean, it's kind of crazy. Kevin, talk a little bit about how you guys are using it.
Absolutely. So I've adopted it and been using it for quite a while, but our inside sales staff, you go by their desks and we've got them big 27-inch monitors so they can work on things side by side, and yet what do they have is a notepad, and they're in an Oracle application and they're writing down a sales order number. And the inside sales manager and he's really good at this stuff, is we started teaching classes on, here's Windows 7, here's the snipping tool, here's how easy it is to just drop stuff into OneNote. And because they can do things side by side, now all of a sudden almost all of them have done away with paper on their desk, because they can manage and keep all their stuff up and running in OneNote and stay automated that way. The other thing I've done a lot of lately, and we'll see if I can bring mine up without making too big of a mess here. The other thing, Jim, so over on home server we had to talk about scanners, the Fujitsu scanner, and you mentioned kind of waffling back and forth between notes and paper. One of the other managers at work, he has kind of given up on writing or typing in OneNote. At the end of the day, he just rips out his notepad paper, scans it straight into OneNote. So now he's got it in there, and the OCR function in OneNote works pretty slick. It actually goes pretty good. So
yeah, it's got a lot of Evernote-like functionality that's in it. That's just dynamite. I've recorded things into it. I think with the pen on a Surface 3. Let me bring up your screen here while you're doing that. I think the pen on a Surface 3 would be the perfect. I mean, it's like OneNote. The Surface 3 is like OneNote optimized, and so I think that pen writing on that would just be dynamite.
So for me, what I've been working off from is, the tab over here is my work.
Can you pop your resolution up a little bit on that? Is that in a browser? No, you're in OneNote. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So and then across the top, this is my notes, my itineraries, my projects, different things I'm working on. And then off to the side is each individual note section. So fully searchable, fully functioning that way. The other thing I've started doing a lot lately, Jim, is in Windows Phone, there's a app called Office Lens. So this was from a meeting, and this is a whiteboard. And I sat back after the meeting was done and took a shot of the whiteboard with my Windows Phone, and it kind of crops it down to the whiteboard and plays around with the contrast a bit to try and help make it very clear. But now it's basically locked in here in my OneNote, and I found that to be a real positive with it as well. Plus, we're starting to do, as we talked about earlier in the show, do SharePoint integration with OneNote. So I'm thinking that will probably do away with one of my project tabs as well.
Yeah, no, it works out great. It's just a sharp little tool that if you haven't taken a look at it, it's everywhere. I mean, it's just you just can find it on a tablet. It's dynamite. On a phone, it's dynamite. One of the things I've done is I keep my to do out there on it, and so I've got that broken down by kind of office to do and my personal to do, and then the honeydew list, and those things, which I probably should do more of the honeydew list. And so I can just bring it up anywhere. I do struggle a little bit. I am a paper guy when it comes to things to do. I am so, if I go back to the 7 Habits, right? I was a big Franklin Covey guy, 7 Habits guy. I learned all that stuff. It is tough for me to break away from writing my to-dos down on paper. And so I go back and forth. I'm like, I put them in OneNote, and then I'm like, I really need them on paper. I like to look at them. I don't want to have to bring it up on my screen. So I'm going back and forth with the to-dos. For all the podcast notes, with the exception of, the average guy stuff, I'm still on Google Docs because that's where I started. Mm-hmm. But everything at Gallup is on OneNote. So all my notes are there. All our stuff that we do, they're all embedded in OneNote. And it's super easy to work with. John, have you you messed with OneNote very much in what you're doing?
No. No.
That was easy.
Yeah.
No.
I don't have no problems there. I remember when it first came out. Where was it? Where was on some device? Was it on the tablet where it was like a circle, and you would like you would set times, and they had sort of like a round circle?
Mm-hmm.
What was that all about?
Well, that's the touch. I'm having trouble with your video. That's weird. I can see it on the small screen, but I couldn't see it. You were blank. Let's flip that over. You're blank on the big screen. That's kind of weird. I think your video's frozen, John. Can you mute it and unmute it? Let's just see if we can get you back. There's the wheel for kind of touch that comes up when you on tablets and stuff, depending upon I think it's really for I forget which version that is, but it'll come up and allow you to do some things, and it's kind of the touch first concept in OneNote. So yeah, it depends on which version you're using, but Microsoft's making that move, right, to get Office on everything. And so I think there's a great time if you're looking for a really good productivity app. OneNote might be the one to check out. All right, Kevin, anything else on that before we kind of bring this in for a landing?
No, like you say, I think the big thing from our point of view is OneNote's everywhere. So no matter what device you have, you can get to it, you can use it.
Works great in the Microsoft ecosystem. Right? I mean, if you're in that already, it's very, very good in that system.
Yep. No, absolutely.
So, okay. Well, cool. Well, I've got a few announcements. So if you're listening live or the recorded version, hang on. Let me get through these real quick. We'll do a little post show tonight, and you don't get the post show unless you come to the live show. So I'll remind you, we do these live. Love to have you come out. Great list of guys tonight. Thanks for coming out. We're kind of back on the. We had. Back in the spring and the winter, we had dipped down to 5 or 6 a show live. It was kind of, I don't want to say struggling, but that's who was coming out. And I think we're 15 or so. I've got actually 19 listed in the chat. That's the most we've had in a while. So live listeners, you guys out there, I want to say thanks for coming out tonight. It's always great to have you out and watch the discussions go on in the chat. And of course, you can join us live Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, out at theaverageguy.tv/live. I want to say we have, LastPass gave me an enterprise trial link now. So if you're interested in LastPass for the enterprise and you just want to try it out, it is an affiliate link, so it'll support theaverageguy.tv, but you can go out to theaverageguy.tv/ all one word, LastPass trial. Okay, averageguy.tv/ LastPass trial, and that'll take you to a page and you can try the stuff, and they've got a trial offer out there for you. It is enterprise, not the let's admit the consumer version's free, right? Just if you haven't tried it yet, go out and get the consumer version. You can do that on your desktop for free. If you start using the mobile apps or want to use some of the special features, it's a whole $12 a year. Not terribly expensive if you want to try LastPass. So give that a try as well. Those guys have been super supportive of us, so I appreciate LastPass and Ambergot and all they're doing out here. And you can appreciate, especially with this new vulnerability of a gazillion passwords, and the Russians got everything now. And so you might want to think about changing some passwords this weekend if you've got a lot of repetitive ones, or if maybe the sites have been affected. By the way, LastPass knows most of the sites that have been affected by this, and they've updated their tool with user or with passwords, and I'm sorry, with email IDs, and so you can go out and see if any of your email accounts have shown up on affected lists in the past. So it's a good thing to do. It's absolutely free. Give those guys a try out at LastPass. We have a brand new newsletter, and Kevin and John, I know you're not on it because I looked at all the names, and you guys did not get the Cool Guy newsletter that came out. It was a first version of it. Went out to 15 of you who signed up to get it. My idea is I'll send you out a monthly update of all the things that are going on here. Maybe you missed some shows. Maybe you missed some links. There's all kinds of cool things going on in the community. Sometimes you just want one email to read to kind of get caught up on that. That'll come every month, usually at the beginning of the month. If you go out and sign up for it, you go out to theaverageguy.tv and look for the link that says subscribe for cool stuff. And that cool stuff will be a monthly email. At least at this point, newsletter for me and maybe some special tidbits as we have vendors that are doing stuff for us or want to give stuff away to you guys. We'll do that through the Coolio newsletter that we're doing. Get signed up for it. I won't spam you. It is a MailChimp account, and one thing, I'll send you one thing a month, so get signed up for that. Just give me your email address, and you can manage it. If you don't like it, you can unsubscribe. You won't hurt my feelings. But we got about 15 or 16 of you have done that. I'd love to jump out there, theaverageguy.tv, and get it done. I mentioned the meetup. God, I can't wait, Kevin. Can't wait. Meetup's going to be good. Zadler, you need to win the lottery, dude, so we can just get you here for the meetup. It would be great to have you down. Someday I'm going to figure out how to get you here for a meetup. But the meetup's coming up September 20th. I will be there live and be DJing. I'm going to bring my DJ. No, not really. Just the speakers. And we'll have a good time at the meetup. Still about 25 spots left, so we'd love to have you come out and get signed up. The link for that will be in the show notes. And one reminder, we do Ask the Podcast Coach Saturday mornings, 9:30 Central, 10:30 Eastern out at AskThePodcastCoach.com. If it's not a great show if you're not a podcaster, so don't. I'm out there. Dave Jackson's out there. Mike Howard always joins in from time to time and in the chat out there. And if you want to know more about podcasting, we take live calls. That's kind of the cool thing about it is we take live calls from people who, and we've had some from this community call in to it. So if you're interested in podcasting, join us Saturday mornings for that as well. That'll wrap it for the recorded version of the average guy of Home Gadget Geeks, and we'll do a little bit of post show. Kevin and John, thanks for coming out tonight. I appreciate it.
You bet. Glad to be here.
For sure. Thanks, Jim.
You bet. We are back here next Thursday night. Actually, a couple good things coming up. If you want to just, if you're taking notes, next week. All right. So next week we kind of have this. We have 2 podcasts in one day. This is going to kind of be cool. We're interviewing Social Bro, but they are in the UK, and so I'm going to interview them 7:30 a.m. It'll be live, but we're not. You guys won't be available. Everybody in the United States will be sleeping. So 7:30 a.m. I'll have Social Bro. I'll do an early Thursday morning Home Gadget Geeks with them. They're a Twitter tool. They work with your Twitter accounts to help you optimize them. So if you're in social media and stuff, it's pretty cool. I thought it was cool. So they'll be on, and then in the evening, I've got our ethical hacker John Nye coming back. And John's got doing a presentation at a conference, and he's going to kind of give us the highlights of the presentation right here on the program. So you don't even have to go to the conference. That'll save you from having to travel in a hotel and all that other stuff. So John Nye's coming back. Hopefully you remember him, N-Y-E, John Nye, like Bill Nye. And if you didn't see him the last time, head out and listen to that before he comes in. Good guy. So next week, 2 podcasts, one day. We're going to get it done. It's going to be very cool. And we'll put those out. I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. I might put them out separate or together. We'll have to get that figured out. But next Thursday night, John Nye. And then the 21st, Zapier, the guys at Zapier. Oh, Kevin, you were talking about automation with If This, Then That.
Yes.
That is not your only automation tools. Zapier, Zapier.com, is another one of those up-and-coming automation sites. And so if you're looking at this stuff, I don't know. Kevin, you should check that out and let me know if they have the same connections to the devices that If This, Then That has.
Sure.
They're both competing. They're adding. I get emails from them every other day. We've added these new connection points. You know, you can do this and 17 things with that. And they're both, it's like a race. It's like an arms race to see who's going to get the most connections available out there. If you know of any other automation sites, I'd be interested. This is one of those things that I'm finding kind of interesting now is the Internet of Things automation. And so getting automated tasks going. Zapier will be on, and we'll talk to them about that as well. Gordon's coming back. We got Nathaniel Lindley coming back on the program. Kyle Wilcox is coming back on. So we've got all kinds of guys. And now Keith Lunsford will be on here shooting for, I haven't gotten a confirmation from him yet. He's going to bring in his copter, and we're going to talk about that as well as maybe some good Colorado beer. So all those things are coming up here on Home Gadget Geeks over the next month or so. And we're glad that you're listening. Be back next Thursday, 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern, averageguy.tv/live. Good night.